Hey there, I am so glad you're here. Come on in and enjoy Coffee Chat at the Cubbyhole. Okay, you might be thinking, coffee sounds fun, but girl, what is the Cubbyhole? The Cubbyhole was a divine little nudge on my heart, if you will, to build the space in our basement, in our home, where our friends and family could come and receive encouragement and love. And that's exactly what we've been doing. I've always known that the Cubbyhole would have a ripple effect out into the world, that it could bring encouragement and hope, not just to people that could visit here in person. That is exactly why I do Coffee Chats. I get to take some of the coolest people that are just like you and just like me, who have skill and talent, but most importantly, they have a vulnerable, relatable story that we can all glean some hope and encouragement from. So grab a coffee, cozy up, and enjoy Coffee Chats at the Cubbyhole. Well, good morning, everybody. I hope that this day finds you well. Oh, it's such a good day. I tell you, I am so excited. I know I say this every week, I say every week that I'm so excited to introduce you to my guests. And I mean it, because they're just awesome. All of you are awesome. And you know what? If I had my way, I would have every single one of you on the show. Maybe I need to start doing this show more than once a week. But today, you know what I realized? I think that the underlying tone, the thread, is bravery. Okay, could you imagine braving a calling or something that you're feeling nudged to do, or you're challenging yourself to do, and it takes so much bravery. I mean, my guest, as I've mentioned before, he was on America's Got Talent. Okay, so can you guys imagine performing stand-up comedy in front of Simon Cowell? I think it'd be pretty cool. It would take a lot of bravery, and the whole other panel of judges, and in front of America, to put yourself out there with whatever it is that your calling is, whatever your gift is. I think it's amazing when people do that, and I love shining light on that bravery because it's an inspiration to us all. So we're going to talk about my guest, Bone Hampton, today as my special guest. We're going to talk about his journey on America's Got Talent. We're going to talk about his journey in faith, and his journey as a single dad. He is just killing it, being a single dad and doing it with style and doing it so well. We love Bone so much. He is just a real relatable guy. He is so wise. And like I said, so incredibly talented. So let's just, before I bring him in, let's just take a second to just I want to show you just a little snippet of some of his professional achievements and just a little glimpse into his resume, if you will. Okay, I'll see you on the other side of this.
We're good. Come on, watch this.
With more than 20 years in the game, stand-up comedian and actor Bone Hampton started in comedy clubs right after graduating from college. Getting advice from headliners on how to further his career, the Texas native was encouraged to move to Los Angeles.
And the whole beauty of stand-up comedy is that you get to tell your point of view. You don't tell people what's right or wrong for them. You tell people what's right or wrong for you.
As one of the superstars of clean Christian entertainment, Bone has multiple stage and movie credits, along with countless television appearances, including stints on NBC's My Name is Earl, BET's Comic View, and ABC's The View. When he's not on set, the talented performer answers the call of the road, traveling to local clubs and churches across the country. Bone has toured with the likes of Shonda Pierce, Lecrae, as well as Sherry Shepherd. Even with all of his success, Bone is no stranger to going through difficult times and believes that laughter is a good medicine. From his own family situations, he draws on humor to deal with discouragement and to look at life from a different perspective.
Laughter is indeed such a good medicine. And with that being the case, well, you know what? Bone has been just healing hearts all over the country with his comedy as he tours across the country, just delivering what is such a beautiful gift of his with comedy. But we're going to talk to him about that and so much more. But let me bring him in to join me. Bone, good morning. How are you?
I am blessed and highly favored. How are you?
Yes, we are. I am so good. And it's so good to see your face and to be spending this time with you. And I'm honored to be able to share you with everybody. We all love you so much. And I'm just honored to share you with everybody that's watching. Thanks for being with me.
You know, Marlo, this is a Marlo thing because I don't usually get up before noon to be talking to nobody. I keep comedian hours for real. Life doesn't start till after 2 p.m. So this is because you are the greatest, Marlo. It's about 9 people watching right now. It's like, I thought Bo don't do interviews before noon. Well, your name ain't Marlo, so.
Oh, no, you're the greatest. No, you're the greatest. No, you are. Oh, thank you, Bo. I'm extra honored now. And I was saying earlier this morning that I picked the wrong time to eliminate caffeine from my program, my daily diet, because I got to keep up with Bo at Hampton and your energy. I don't care what time of day it is. You are just an energy, just full of energy. So
I only got one speed. I just believe that my funny is in my loudness. So if I'm not loud, I'm like, don't nobody want to hear me. That's just what I know. That's just what I know.
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to start off with this because I think I know a lot of people have asked me because they know I was going to be on with you. I bet a lot of people have asked you. Maybe a lot of people are wondering, is Bone your God-given or birth-given name?
You know, that always trips me out that people, that is they hang up. They'll watch me for an hour. Yeah. Your jokes was fine. What we want to know is that the name your mama gave you? I'm like, why? Why doesn't they're like, we just need to know. We can't get past. I'm like, are you going to buy these t-shirts? Will you tell us if that's your? So here's the dealio. My last name is Hampton. And so my friends used to call me Hambone. Then they got lazy. And then they called me Bone. So when I was deciding if I was about comedy, I was like, well, what name you going to go by? You going to go by your government name, which is Bernard Fitzgerald Hampton? It's just like, you know what? That don't sound like that dude going to be funny. Bernard Fitzgerald? So I was like, go by Bone. That sounds like that's going to be entertaining. So.
Do you guys see why you have to go find Bone wherever he's going to be doing stand-up next and whatever he shows? Because my face, what time is it? It's 10:30 in the morning and my face is killing me. We've only been on for 3 minutes and you are cracking. Oh, no, 8 minutes. You're cracking me up. My face. Oh, my gosh. You do this every time we talk. Every time we all get to spend time with you. This is what happens. We're rolling. You just crack me up. Bone. Okay, I want to just take another step back, too, because you were just talking about your birth-given name. And it just reminded me that, we all start with our story. And Bone, I want to know about the younger version of you. I just have to start there because I am personally curious. I don't know if we've ever talked about this. So tell me about you when you were a little boy. Did you always know you wanted to be a comedian? Who were you? What were you doing? What were you like?
No, did not know I was going to be a comedian because I actually was a nerd. And I am a nerd. And growing up, I was a little chubby nerd, little fat, chubby nerd. That's who I was. And that's it. Little fat, chubby nerd with glasses and afro. I've been having these glasses since the 3rd grade. And, you walking around just fat, nerdy and glasses and your afro ain't always patted back the way it's supposed to be. You just was, you struggling with life trying to figure out how to fit in. And so the cool thing, I went to a magnet school in 4th and 5th grade, and then a magnet school in 9th and 10th grade. And that's when I felt like I fit in because I was with the nerds. So we was all fat, nerdy, and goofy, and we was loving each other. It was like, you too? You wear Huskies? I wear Huskies. Yes. You wear belts and suspenders? I do too. Yeah. Have you seen the latest pocket protector? Oh my God. And then I went to a regular school in middle school, and it was like, you got to try to fit in. So you play like you don't know the answers. They be like, anybody know the answer? I know. No. Nobody knows? No. Well, I actually know what the Pythagorean theorem is, but I guess I ain't supposed to in here. So that was part of the journey.
Oh my gosh. How do you even pronounce that? without coffee. I mean, just the fact that you could pronounce the whatever that was. I'm not even going to try. Oh my gosh. It's so funny because I think that's, I'm sure you were just collecting humor in comedy. I mean, you didn't know you were going to be a comedian, but boy, I bet you draw upon that when you're going to write some comedy about being a kid. Do you ever give any of that in your comedy?
Oh, all day, every day. I was big for my age, so I was all into sports. That was my way out, where they wasn't mad at me for being a nerd because they're like, well, he good in sports because he's so big. So comedy was the last thing on my mind. But yeah, every now and then you're on stage and something happened to trigger something that happened. You're like, no. And then you're like, you know what? That's actually funny now that I'm over 25 versus when I was 5. So you know what? That's okay. They actually gonna laugh at this pain. So here we go. Here's what happened. And they like, I'm like, it's not really funny, but I'm gonna let y'all laugh since this is my job.
Oh my gosh. And the moments that you were also talking about as a kid too, I'm seeing it now. I have actually never heard those stories. And as long as I've known you, and I just think it's such a cool insight to who you were growing up, because it just paints the picture even more why you're so kind and caring, and you literally treat everybody like you've known them forever. That's just a really, all your friends think that about you, Bo?
No, and you ain't gonna make me cry, Marlo. Okay, so don't be trying to do all that. Ain't no crying going. I will hit mute in a moment. You ain't gonna be crying. I'm a comedian. That's what I am. You ain't gonna be all this. That's what people think about you, Bo. Let me read this letter from your 3rd grade teacher. No, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that.
You mentioned it. I haven't had one. Oh, like, don't you dare Barbara Walters me, girl. You are not gonna make me.
Yes, that ain't no.
I've been challenged. Now, #goals. Here I go. Let me try. Now, oh my God! Thanks for that insight. It just says so much, and not surprised at all that you are who you are. But hey, listen, you are. I was bragging about you this week. You're an award-winning comedian of the year.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. That was kind of cool.
The Dove Award for Comedian of the Year. What went through your mind? You're accepting the award. You're in that moment. Like, what? Just all the years of all the stories you were just talking about, all those moments. Like, what went through your head?
Well, one of the funniest things, you said something that's really interesting. I never necessarily thought of me as being funny. I'm just a dude that knows how to have a good time, and I have a big personality, so I can kind of take over a room if I want to. And the Christian in me is, if God gives you that kind of power to take over a room, you better do it in a way that's pleasing to him.
Yeah.
And so we can all be laughing and giggling and kikiing, but if there's anybody that's getting their feelings hurt, if they can't laugh along with what I'm doing, then that's not God's work. That's right. So building a career on that, instead of building a career on, I don't care what nobody think. I'm just gonna say what I want to, and then and watching and knowing that the secular comics are like, nah, man, you can't be worried about what people think. And I'm like, yeah, but I hang out with this dude named Jesus, and he told me you need to worry about what the people, maybe not what they think, but how they feel. And so to have that award basically say, hey, we see you and we want to reward you and celebrate you on that is the way you have chosen to do comedy, is to be concerned about the way people feel. And it was just like all those years of work coming together and saying, we see you do that. We see you worried about the way white people feel in the audience just as much as you worry about the way Black folks feel about in the audience, and you care about the way the women feel when they leave, just like you care about the men. You care about the Asians. You care about anybody that's not you. Right. And you concern yourself with how they feel when they leave. We want to let you know, hey, man, kudos to you. And all of that feeling is just like, you know what? Stop that, Marlo. Stop it.
I'm telling you, Bo. Now here it goes. Oh, am I close? Am I close? No, I love that you're talking about being a good steward, what your heart and what your faith is telling you to do with that responsibility. That you're given these platforms and you've been so successful. And I love that you're using that in the way that, as a good steward and following in what Jesus is, wants for you. And I love that. And you do that so, so well. Have you always, was there ever a time where you weren't doing either Christian comedy, or I think you stray away from calling it Christian comedy, but clean comedy? Have you always done clean comedy?
So when I started, I made a decision before I ever got on stage. I was like, what are you going to do? And, it's really about the relationship with my mom. Right. And I decided that I would be clean, because I never wanted anybody. My mom had one rule with her kids. I got a brother and a sister. She's like, I don't care about what you do. Just don't let me get blindsided. So whatever you're doing, just let me know, so I'll be in the know. So if you get arrested, you want to go rob banks, whatever, just call me and be like, hey, I'm about to rob a couple of banks. So if I see you on the news, I'm not sitting there like, what happened? And she's like, I don't want my friends being able to call me and say, ooh, we saw your son at the club last night. We didn't know he talked like that. He's like, I don't need that drama, because I'm a customer friend out. So you let me know if you go. I'll say, you know what? I can't call my mama for every show. So let me never say nothing that has her caught off guard. And then we'll always be cool.
I definitely wanted to ask you about your mom. I know that you were so close with your mom, and I know that you lost her not that long ago. But would you just tell us a little bit about her? I know you were just kind of explaining a little bit of who she was and what she expected of you, but I would love it, because the story and who she is so important to who you are, because I know that you love her and honor her so, so much. And by the way, if you remember this story, I heard you tell a story about her. And I don't remember the actual details, but you were talking about the show Good Times and the mom from Good Times. But any of that, I would love to hear what you have to say about your mom.
Man, it's so much in what you just said that you don't even remember. If you heard me tell the stories of Good Times, that means I was at Oasis, my home church in Nashville, speaking on a Sunday, where my pastor, Danny Chambers, would put me in the pulpit. And I'm bringing that up because he just passed away, rest in peace. And he was one of the guys that was always pushing me beyond comedy, and was like, I know you funny, but I think you got some other stuff in there too. I'm like, Pastor, I am not a preacher. I'm a comic. He's like, whatever, you do 20 minutes of comedy, and then I need you to bring it home. So that's a trip that's the time you remember.
You're a preacher. I have notes up in my office. I took notes. I have to go find them when you were preaching that day. It was wonderful. But
when I was speaking, I wasn't being no preacher. Don't be trying to slip that in, Marlo. All right. So my mom, she passed in 2015.
You were preaching to me. How about that? You were preaching to me.
Here we go. Okay. You're not going to pull this other stuff out of me, Marlo. We're not doing that. I know you good at your job, but no. No.
I've got goals. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
I know you do. So my mom, she passed in 2015. One of the best things that she taught me was to always think about how you're going to feel after you do whatever you do. She said, don't worry about how you feel about before you do it, because you're going to want to do it. Otherwise, you wouldn't think about it. Don't think about how you're going to feel when you're doing it, because you wouldn't do it if you didn't think it was going to feel good doing it. You got to think about how you're going to feel when it's over, because that's what you got to live with for the rest of your life. That feeling of doing it, that's going to be gone real fast, but whatever afterwards. So whoever it is you're thinking about having a conversation with, talking to, whatever it is you're thinking about doing. And so I would always have to think like, man, I want to do this, but my mom gonna be like, oh, so you mad about what you did? Now you upset? Didn't I tell you to think about it? And so that is really
I told you, Mama knows best. I mean, I know you know that.
Man. She asked me to preach her eulogy at a funeral. She had told me before, and I was like, Mama, what? She was like, because I don't want nobody up there lying on me. You the only one I know go tell the truth about who I was. I was like, all right, Mama. And so she, one of the things I said in the eulogy was that she was the best replica of Jesus that I ever met, because I look at Jesus as the person that has expectations, has standards, has, I don't want to say demands, but the more he loves you and the more he knows what you can do, it does become demands. You know, he may demand something from me that he don't demand from other comics. You know, there's other comics that's never been around a diverse group of people. And I look at them, I'm like, man, you can only entertain that one group of people. You don't get convicted for that? And Jesus is like, don't worry about them. They ain't never been around white folks. They don't know how to do it. You have to entertain everybody. Jesus, they ain't never did know. What about them? They ain't never around no black people. They ain't gonna never be around black people. But you? So I understand that with Jesus, there's a demand depending on who it is and what he's equipped you with. And so I look at my mom. It don't matter what I do, whether I'm on The View 4, 5, 6 times, or if I'm out here digging ditches. She is like, my love for you is always based on I love you, period. And that's the best replica of Jesus that I can feel on earth, of knowing that because he loves me to the fullest and there's nothing I can do about it, that means there's also nothing I can do to make him love me less, because it's not based on me. And so with my mom, that's what I always was able to grow up with, was with, you're going to love me whether I fumble the ball 4 times or I score 4 touchdowns. You're going to love me if I strike out the whole game or if it's a home run every time. And that feeling of knowing, that feeling of comfort is what always gets you through whenever it's a rough time. It's like, well, you know what? My mama thought I was funny, so never mind.
Right, that's right. And I love you're equating that love of Jesus with your mom. That is so powerful. A lot of people are commenting on that right now. And I got to tell you, you know, your friends are going to call you out. Jen O'Brien, what's she saying? She's saying, Bone is preaching now.
Jen, I need you to rephrase that. You're supposed to be my friend, Jen. Don't be doing that.
We love you. We're going to get you. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you for sharing that about your mom. Who is the picture right there behind you? Who's in the picture?
Oh, yeah, that's my mom. That's my mom and dad and myself. That is at Sherry Shepherd's second wedding. I didn't mean to say funeral. Yeah, that's Bill.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Oh my God. Oh, I love that. You literally have her. They're behind you. They're
right behind me,
and figuratively. Same with Jesus. So Sherry Shepherd, yeah, you guys are friends and you were on The View. Oh my goodness. I mean, you guys, what a fun friendship that must be.
It is. We met when I first got to LA over 20 years ago, and she had nothing. I had nothing. We were in an acting class with Kim Fields, Tootie from The Facts of Life. And we were just 2 young comics doing, not necessarily open mics, but, you know, but an open mic in LA is a different open mic than everywhere else. Because an open mic in LA, Chris Rock could pop in.
Yeah.
And you like, this has now turned from an open mic to the most professional show I ever been on. So I say open mics, but yeah, it's so different.
Yeah.
And, you know, the people that you start out with in the grind, they always have a special place for you. And so she had just became a Christian at that time. So it's funny because I'm born and raised in my church. And so just watching her new growth as a Christian and things that, you know, the church that taught me, like, you supposed to wear a dress to church. Why are you here in overalls? And she's like, that's all I had clean. But it washed the day before, Sherry. And just the friendship and the trust. And she had a couple of nephews that, you know, their fathers wasn't around. And she was like, would you mind kind of stepping in and talking to them? And me and the nephews got such a strong relationship now. And so we just, it just really, sometimes I believe this clearly, that some people God put in your life on purpose. Yeah. And if you don't really take advantage of God putting these people in your life on purpose, it might be some stuff you go through. And I'm like, you didn't have to go through that if you would have paid attention to the people God put in your life on purpose.
True. Yes. And not overlook. Yeah. The people that are obviously right there. And yes, don't overlook that. That is such good advice. So true. You were just talking about performing in the clubs and, with your very long career. There's a lot of new comics that watch this show. And I'd love for you to touch on the fact that sometimes, we can get nerves or what do you do about memorization? What's your advice for those two things that you've learned over the years?
So, there's different techniques of doing comedy. Like Jerry Seinfeld is a list. He has all his jokes 1 through 30. He's going through his jokes 1 through 30. And that's fine. For some people, that's the way they need to do it.
Right.
I was taught, my main mentor is a guy named Rodney Johnson. Mm-hmm. When I started at Steve Harvey's Comedy Club back in Dallas, I was hosting for him. And he was the headliner. He really liked me, took me up on his wing. And he saw me doing the Jerry Seinfeld method. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I got my jokes 1 through 10. And he was like, no, man. He was like, you don't worry about the list. Just go up there and be funny. You know your jokes. And just do the jokes as they come to your head on stage. And what happened, I was in the list like 1 through 10. And so something happened after 3. So let's just say that my 3rd joke was about playing college football, which was going to go into my 4th joke about my mama being at the games. Let's just say that. Okay. So after the 3rd joke, something happened. And it took me something totally different. I was improvising and riffing with him about being a substitute teacher. And then I came back to my mama being at the game. And he called me after the show and he was like, why didn't you go into all your stuff about substitute teaching? I was like, because that's number 9 on the list. And I was on number 3 and I need to get to number 4. And he was like, man, don't ever do that. Like it was the perfect setup for you to organically do the substitute teacher stuff. Right. And I was like, no, because that's later. And he was like, nah, man, don't do that. Whatever. And so for me, I have a few jokes that's like, I know come together that'll be, a 7-10 minute run. And then after that, then I'm just whatever this is created. Like I have 7 to 10 minutes of scripted that I'm going to do. And then after that, so I would tell a new comic, what you have to do is figure out what works for you. Do you need that Seinfeld list and just go 1 through? Like Sherry Shepherd, she cannot do it. If she riffs, she will cut a riff off because she's like, I'm going to forget the rest of my jokes if I keep talking to you. And I'm like, Sherry, she's like, I can't do that, Bone. That's what you do. And I'm like, well, okay, everybody can't do the same thing. So as far as memorization, I would say if that's what you need, do that. But if not, if you could just trust yourself enough to know what's the funny part about the joke, because one thing you could do is start learning how do you get into the funny versus the setup. A lot of times we get caught up on the setup of like, well, this is the way I set it up. I start with, I walked into a QT and then, you know what? It's irrelevant you walked into a QT. All that matters is that you walked into a store and the person behind the clerk, the next thing they said, that's when the funny starts. You could be at QT, you could be at Sears, you could be at Jack in the Box. No, Bo, I was at a QT. I'm like, So that's why I teach a comedy class, to help people get past things that somebody told you, but they didn't give you all the things that come along with it.
Yeah, you are teaching. You're doing teaching of comedy right now. Where will people find you if that's something they're interested in? What's your website or whatever you
go to bonehampton.com or email me class@bonehampton.com. We starting the next round starts in October, so you got a few weeks to get together. But go to bonehampton.com and the information is there. And it's again, it's something God is like, hey man, don't learn all this on your own and don't share. Yeah. And I'm like, all right.
You know what you're doing. I know you know what you're doing because you found yourself on America's Got Talent. I want to talk to you about that and all the details that you want to share. But before we talk about that, I want to share this clip. So hold on and then we'll chat about it.
I'm doing stand-up.
What type of comedy do you do?
Well, I'm a clean comic.
Oh, no curse words.
No curse words. Oh. My mama would come out of heaven and be like, pow, Wow.
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not good.
There's a thin line between flirting and stalking. No, because here's the thing. If a girl think you cute, she will never accuse you of stalking her. Brad Pitt can be hiding in your bushes butt naked at 3 o'clock in the morning. And y'all would be like, that's so romantic.
I'll tell you something, young man. You were the life of tonight's party.
It's your thing. You do what you want to do.
Oh my gosh. What in the world was that like? You got to tell us. What was that like?
Here's the thing. I did that a couple years ago, and I've been on TV at least once every year since 1999. So being on TV doing comedy is no big woo to me. And I had butterflies the size of dinosaurs. And I was like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, yeah, you ain't been on TV where there's a chance that there's a man over there that's going to rip you to shreds.
That's what I'm saying.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Because if you try to defend yourself, you're just going to make yourself look bad.
And you're not
you don't know.
Yeah. It's not coming to you in an email. It's like on live television. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, because every comic can have a bad set. Like, it's not guaranteed. I don't care how many times you've done those jokes. It's not guaranteed that everything's going to come out correctly and everybody read it the same. So the idea of being out there and knowing that they could just say, so part of America's Got Talent is that they also, the backstory. They want a great backstory.
Right.
And so when the producers found out that I left Hollywood for fatherhood, because my son is 11 now, so about 12 years ago, quick story is I met a girl. She moved out to LA in September. We got married in October. We got pregnant in November. December, she went back to Atlanta, said, I no longer want to be married to you. I don't want to come back to LA. So I left LA to be in the same place where my son was and to fight for my marriage. I lost the fight, but I went to go fight anyway. But the fight that I won was the fatherhood marriage. And so I had to, the fatherhood. And so I had to make a decision on, that was my choice, fatherhood or Hollywood. Was I going to choose to pursue playing a character, or was I going to have character? And so when I left to be a father,
I like that.
Once the producers found out about this, they were like, you got to tell that story.
Yeah.
And so as I'm talking to Simon, Howie, Mel, and Heidi before I perform, I tell the story. And they go crazy. Mel B is like, wait, what? Like, guys don't do that. And Tyra Banks was like, no, like, guys leave. Guys don't be trying to. So they all hype with the story. And then Mel be like, that's so great. Now tell your jokes. And I was like, Mel, wait, you got me all. And they were like, no, wait. Take your time, because we want you to do so good. Take your time. And so I get into the jokes, and they just with me, and it's great. And we finish. And Simon Cowell says, he said, your jokes are fine, but I think I like you more than I like your jokes, more than I like your comedy. And I was like, okay, cool. Howie was like, man, you had the swag before you ever started talking, just your rhythm. And it was real cool to hear them say things that I've heard my friends say about comedy. Mel B was just like over the roof. Heidi was cool. Heidi a little bit more low energy, but she was cool. And so to get 4 yeses in the first round, it was just like, I lost my mind, because my biggest thing was I didn't want to embarrass my son. Like, I'm good. If you want to tell me I suck, I don't care, because I have a career and I'm good. But I don't want my son to have to go back to school and be like, so that was your daddy? That Simon said was horrible? I was like, I can't do that to my son. So the excitement was that you get to be proud of your dad in a position where it could went left. So it was overwhelming joy in a way of like, my goodness, they really wanted to see me do well. And the second round, I didn't do as well because I had to do an older joke that they liked the joke, but I was like, the joke was about I don't have kids, so I don't date women who have kids. I'm like, my son is 9. So that means I ain't did that joke in 9 years. And they was like, yeah, but we like it. I'm like, I can't make it. I can't make it authentic. And they were like, yeah, but
to a past tense. I did, yeah. I did.
yeah, and that's what I tried to do. And it was like, if you're not authentic with it,
yeah,
it's just it reads wrong. So
yeah, sometimes jokes they have a shelf life, and it's like, yeah, well, we're all so proud of you for that experience, and I mean, in addition to all of it, your success on it, your bravery, and what an example you taught your son that you go for it, you step out in courage, and that's so cool. And I love that you were just talking about your sweet boy. I'd love to. So tell us about one of the things I was talking about when I was promoting our time together is that you're a single dad. What a journey that is for you, huh?
yes, indeed. There's so many. Part of the problem is that there's so many stereotypes about single dads and
Right.
what they don't do and not being responsible and being Disney dads and
Yeah.
making their own schedules and things. And so one thing that I like to do is talk to whoever it is that I'm dealing with, almost like a focus group per se. So I
Yeah.
have a lot of single mom friends.
Mhm.
And I talk to them and be like, well, what are you frustrated about that you don't get from your child's father? So
Mhm.
then I can look at those things and figure out, is that something that I can do differently? Or is that just something that's a situation? And so it's funny because one of the things that me and my son mother that we have to deal with is his schedule, meaning she always wants, she wants him back so she can put him on his schedule, blah, blah. I'm like, I got a schedule too. Okay, I got a schedule. When he with me, we got a schedule. So it ain't just about your schedule. I
Yeah.
got a schedule.
It's
And
not
it was funny
easy.
because
The divorce situation, yeah, it's not easy. The communication alone and things just like that, it's tricky.
it's something that seems so simple.
Yeah.
And I talked to Sherry about it. She's a single mom. And I say, Sherry, I'm tired of this. And she said, you know what, Bone? You're right. I never think about Jeffrey's father and what his schedule is because it's about my schedule. I'm like, yeah, I need y'all to start considering my schedule. She worked 9 to 5. She got a regular day job. She's remarried. Seattle has, I'm not supposed to say his name. He told me not to say his name. So my son said, don't say my name on interviews, on radio, nothing. I'm like, why you don't want me to say your name? He like, I don't like people knowing my name that I don't know. And so now I be out and they be yelling my name and I turn around because I think they know me because they know my name and then I don't know them. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna respect that. So my son has 2 younger brothers. So they gets up. Her husband works in ministry. So, they up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So they need to be asleep by 8 o'clock at night. I'm
Right.
like, our day don't get started till 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So my schedule is we go to sleep by 1:30, 2 o'clock. Why? Because we waking up at 11:30, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's that funny thing of like, okay, I hear you in your schedule, but I got a schedule too.
Mhm.
And so,
You're making it.
say it again.
I was going to say you find it seems that you're finding a way. You make it work. It seems to blend. You're doing it.
Yeah, it's like
Even with
we have to make adjustments. If I'm only with my son from when he gets out of school Friday to when I take him to school Monday, then anytime I have to discipline him, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be prorated. It ain't gonna be. And so my son didn't really realize that it was prorated. He just knew that discipline wasn't as long as it was with mommy. And so he called her on it one day and said, Daddy don't be doing that stuff you be doing. And she was like, hey, you need to talk to him. I was like, so I talked to him. I was like, what are you talking about? Like if I do something at about, 5 or 6 o'clock, she'll get mad and be like, all right, you got to go to bed. And then I'm done for the whole night. And I'm supposed to be playing with my stepdaddy at 7:30. We supposed to play Madden. And now I can't. I got to go to sleep. But, you don't do that. You like put me in time out for like 30 minutes and I'm like, yeah, man, because I only got 48 hours with you.
Right.
So
It's like,
I can't be just canceling out an entire night. But that's because we got a shortened time. Like, don't think that.
That is true. That's valid. I mean, the time is abbreviated. And so, yeah, you're trying to make it work with the best that you can. What would you say is your best piece of advice for single parents? And then also something that you've learned, maybe an epic fail that you've learned from that people can glean some hope from.
The best piece of advice is to try to look at life through your child's eyes. Because if you look at life through their eyes, it'll help you understand what they're going through, which will help you know how to best parent them for that. Like when my son was like 1 or 2, whenever he was in that walker thing, like the thing, you put him in and got the wheels. And one day my brother had, we had some friends over. So my brother's big as me. So all our friends big as me. There's about 6 or 7 of us in the house. And my son just started crying. And I remember my dad was trying to talk to him like, no, you don't need to be crying. You don't need to be blah, blah. I was like, Daddy, hold on. And so I went and got him and I picked him up and he was fine. And I was like, here's the problem. He's this low. He's like 2 feet off the ground. And it's a bunch of 6'5" dudes in here. So all he's seeing is shins. To him, it's a bunch of tree trunks. So he think he in the woods. Yeah, he gonna cry. But once I picked him up and he was eye to eye with everybody, then he was fine because he's like, I see people and I'm fine. But down here, all I saw was tree trunks. Like it was the summer, so everybody had on shorts and you got a bunch of football players, legs, they look like tree trunks. And so it was like, because I looked through life through his eyes, I saw what he saw, I was able to help parent him.
Yeah, that's powerful advice because that can be challenging. That can be hard to do when you're an adult. You're thinking about it from maybe only from the perspective that we see. That is such good advice. Yes, without a doubt. What about maybe an epic fail or something that you've done that's kind of gone haywire in your parenting that people can learn from?
Well, I can't say any of the real epic fails because court reasons.
Those moments as a parent where we're like,
no, I've had a couple of things when he was still being breastfed, so she would have to send milk with me whenever I would have him. And so one time we on a plane, I ran out of milk. And he was not even close to full. He was still hungry. And I got upgraded to first class. And when I tell you, I mean, I'm loud in country. So he was a baby loud in country. And when I say baby loud in country, I don't mean like a baby level. I'm just saying he was a baby, but he was loud in country. And so they are looking at me on this plane like, I know you need to feed this baby, change a diaper or something. And I'm like, now he hungry and I ain't got nothing for him to eat. And I mean, and then here's the thing. Sherry, again, here's Sherry Shepherd. When my wife at the time was pregnant, she said, you need to find a song that you like, sing it to your son while he's in the womb. And when he comes out, sing that song and watch him turn his head looking for who's been singing this song to him the whole time. So I had this song and the song was, I mean, it just was soothing. And so I couldn't really sing on the plane in first class. And so I picked him up and I had him close to my ear and I started whispering the song to him. And he just started, he went,
Okay.
It was like, I mean, the people on the plane, they didn't know what I was doing. and they was like, we don't know what you did, but bravo. Bravo.
Bravo, 100%. That is, yes. I mean, that's incredible. And I got to ask you, what was the song?
Oh, it's a song I used to sing in the choir at my old church. The song was called "If I Live to See 100."
Oh,
And so it's funny because
trying to turn this around. You're trying to make me cry. You're not going to make me cry, Bone. I don't care if you're good at your job. It's not happening. You keep drinking my herbal tea and stay focused. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh my God. You know what? Oh my gosh, Bone, I've told you this before. When I first met you, I was just intimidated because you have that Bone, have that voice, and so intimidating. And I don't even want him to see him. I don't want to even tell him I'm a comedian. I don't want him to see. I was so intimidated. And I've learned about you over time is you have, well, now I'm calling you out and I don't care. Jen, you're with me here. If she's still here, you have such a soft heart and you are not we can't judge what we see. Like I just see this bowl, you're just Bone, Hampton, and your heart is so amazing. And that story does not surprise me because that's who you are. I love it, Bone. That is an incredible story. So we're going to all start doing some singing to our little kids. That's the advice. I love it. The other thing I love about you, and I know I just told you recently when I saw you, is it's the word accountability. I got to give that to you. You are so accountable, which again, when I first met you, I don't know. I mean, I would have never saw myself, telling the story about you, but it's so, so true. You are so accountable. Like I know that you have your opinions and your things that you're going to say to somebody in a conversation, but what you do, and I know you talked about you have a lot of friends that are women. You call your friends, you call your brother, you call the people that you trust in your life, and you say, "Hey, look, this is what I said. This is my opinion. Tell me, am I being, you give yourself a checkup from the neck up by going to your friends, and I love that about you. You always been like that?
For the most part, like once I realized I have quite a few people that are willing to defend me when I'm not there, I never want them to be defending something that's incorrect or not right.
Right.
And so because I know I have people that will defend my name, defend my honor, I always want to make sure they know exactly what they defended. It goes back into the thing of my mom is like, don't let me get blindsided.
Right.
Tell me what you did so I know what to defend. And so when I was a teacher, a substitute teacher and regular teacher, I would always tell my kids, hey, you got to tell me what you did. I will fight for you all day, every day.
Yeah.
Because I know who you are. And sometimes I'm not defending what you did. I'm defending who you are. So if you don't tell me what it is, you'll have me in there fighting the wrong fight for you. So tell me if you took it. Tell me if you stole it. Tell me if you hit whatever. Because then I'm going to go in there and defend what evidence they don't have, or to go just defend who you are and never, ever talk about what you actually did.
Right.
And so I try to think of that with people when, without, the whole thing, my marriage was a big thing. It had a lot of different layers to it, positive and negative.
Right.
And depending on which version of what you heard, you might have heard a lot of the negative layers to it. And I knew I had people that was going to be like, no, not the Bone I know. So I had to call them and tell them like, hey, let me tell you what's going on. They're saying I did A, B, C, D, E, and F. I did B and I did E. I didn't do them other things. And they was like, cool, that's all we need to know, Bone.
Oh my God.
And it allowed my friends to really speak on my behalf and defend what was true and what wasn't true. And I had spoke to friends beforehand, and they was, again, accountability of like, hey, here's what's going on. Here's how it happened. And they just like, I mean, it ain't the greatest way to do it, Bone, but yeah, we good. We good with you.
Yeah.
And so I've always, and my dating life even before marriage, after marriage, it just always just ends up in the toilet. And Sherry looking at me like, how do you find? I'm like, I don't know, Sherry. They like me. I mean, I'm that dude. The best thing you can do is like me. That's the most attractive thing in the world. Oh, you like me? Oh, okay. So I'm like, I mean, I done dated a girl. She was a Christian. Then I found out in the relationship she a witch. I'm like, why you didn't lead with that? She gonna tell that we gonna have lunch with Sherry. She gonna tell Sherry at lunch. I'm like, oh my goodness.
You're like,
why
look,
would you
carry the headline? Okay, I'm gonna need that information straight up front. Okay, how about that for next time? Oh my!
I'm like, all these conversations we done had about Jesus and Paul, you left out the witch part.
Did you think maybe you could have mentioned that? You are surrounded by people that love you and that pour into you. You do the same for others. Who are some of your other mentors or go-tos when you just need some sound advice?
It's funny. I was thinking about with my Nashville pastor, Danny Chambers, that just recently passed. I was like, I probably should make a list of the pastors that's really my dude, so that this is what I hate. I hate when somebody died and then 1,000 people come out. He was like a brother to me. He was like, I'm like, I ain't never heard you say nothing about him. Stop trying to be big in the moment. So it's funny. I was like, let me clarify who these people are so it won't be like, So my bishop, who I call my bishop, is a bishop up in Virginia named Nelson Williams. When I first started, he had a church over in Korea. He was in the military. He had a church in Korea, and he brought me over. It was actually the Labor Day weekend before 9/11. Mm-hmm. And he brought me over. I was a new comic. I had 30 minutes that was funny. And I was opening for a group called Trinity 5-7. Mm-hmm. And they was like, you got to do the full 30. I was like, hey, man, I only got 30. Like at 31, they stopped being funny. I'm telling you. Well, one of the girls from Trinity, she missed the flight. She forgot her passport. So she was coming in the next day. And so they like, man, you might have to stretch that 30. I told y'all when I signed this contract.
What did I say?
And so did the show. It went great. And then 911 hit.
Yeah.
And so he called back my agent and said, is there any way Bone could come up with a new 30 minutes and we can have him for Thanksgiving? Because what he did on Labor Day, we need that. We need that right now. And he was such a bright light that if there's anything we can. So I went back in November, and me and him, he's just a guy that I depend on. I know he's wise, and he always he kind of walked with me through the whole divorce and custody, because I had to do a lot of fighting to get the time that I get now with my son. And it just, it didn't make sense to me that I was having to fight this hard to get time with my son when the whole thing was like, no, dads don't be trying to fight for time. I'm like, I'm trying to fight for time. I'm an ex-school teacher. I want to be in the middle of his education.
Right.
And he walked with me through it. He talked to me when my mom died. So he's a big deal because he's also a fan of my comedy. And so he's always talking to me about, what's next and this is going to happen for you. So that's my guy. That's my bishop. Rodney Johnson, Michael Collier. When I first started, Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey really it's funny. He was very encouraging about being clean. Shonda Pierce. And then I got a lot of buddies that's like we're on equal playing field. Leland Clausen, Thor Ramsey, Darren Streblow, Mike Goodwin, Akatunde, Marcus Wiley. My theory has always been Jesus had 12 disciples. That was for a reason. And I don't think I'm supposed to have 12 people following me, but I think you're supposed to have about 12 dudes in your life. And so I break it down to, okay, I have 4 guys that's above me, meaning that I look up to them. They were grown men before I was grown men.
Right,
So
right.
there'll always be a grown man to me. I have 4 guys that's younger than me that I can speak it to their life, and then 4 right there with me that we're like very much the iron sharpens iron thing. So
Mhm. So you're surrounded. You're surrounded by goodness. I know a lot of the people you just mentioned, and they are just incredible people. And it's so cool that you have them to lean on because it's so important. I talk about that all the time. Having your tribe of people, like you said, it doesn't have to be this massive number of people that you can go to. It's so important to have your go-to people that you can laugh with, cry with, and they're just your people. So it doesn't surprise me. You have all those incredible souls with you. You know, Oh my gosh, Bone, there's so many different things that I could ask you, but I wanted to just go back for a second. I know you touched on it, your faith. I just wanted to talk about actually before we do that, I want to touch on a topic that I know it's so significant in your life is that your son is biracial.
yes.
And I wanted to give you a chance to talk to the viewers that have children that are biracial and what's your journey been and any inspiration that you can put on their hearts with.
You know, one of the biggest challenges that I have of having a biracial child is that, first of all, he looked like me. He's a light-skinned Bone. So he's going to be one of my buddies, Rodney Perry. His wife said to me one time, she said, Bone, he's only biracial when he's with his mother. When he with you, he's just another little black boy. And it really, like, me and Rodney looked at each other like, that is a deep statement.
Yeah,
Because
it really is.
if you don't know my son's mother, you just think I married a light-skinned black woman because there's nothing about him that makes you say, oh yeah, like he doesn't have wavy hair. You know, he ain't walking around here with big blue eyes. Not that black people can't have blue eyes, but it would throw you like, so he looks just like a light-skinned version of me. So as I try to teach him what he is going to have to go through on all aspects of being a light-skinned little black boy, I also have to remember whatever I tell him and teach him, he has to go back and survive in his mother's house. And so there's things that we could, my mother taught me that, I knew when I left the house what I had to deal with, and it was okay for her to tell me that. But it's different if you got to go live in another household. It's one thing to go out in the world, but it's another thing to live in another household. The idea that I have to teach him that there are people that look like your family, because his mother, his stepfather, and his 2 little brothers, they love him on a whole. I mean, they love him to the fullest. There's no question about that at all. His grandmother and his grandfather and my wife's brothers, like family is just solid. No question, full throttle love. But I have to teach him that there are people that look like your family that are not going to like you because you look like me. And they may try to hurt you because you look like me. You may have family members beyond this nucleus family that may try to hurt you and don't like you. And I'm like, I got to tell you to be careful when you go to family reunions, because there's some family members that may want to cause you harm without making him feel like there's something wrong with his family, without making him feel like you need to question your family that don't look like me, because I don't want that for him. But I have to protect him because that's not something that runs through his mother's mind, because she don't have to think about that. And so that's where the challenge is of maintaining that balance of, I need to protect you, but I also need to not put something on you that puts you in a way to where you can't survive, you can't function in your day-to-day life with the situation you have. That's the biggest challenge right there.
And so what's your advice to him, or how do you maneuver that with him? what do you say to him on how he can do? I mean, obviously he knows how loved he is, but just in the world, what's your advice to him with what you were talking about? That people may judge you. What do you say to him?
It's so much. There's not like one line because it's so much deeper than that. Because I want him to respect authority. So as I tell him respect authority, I also have to teach him what authority to respect and when to recognize that authority may be abusing their power, and then you do need to step out. There's
Right.
so much involved with that I mean, we'd have to do a whole nother 3-part series to
Right.
talk about those things. But I do, whenever I have a good interaction with the police, I'll always tell that cop, if I have Seattle, hey, will you come over and have a good interaction with my son
Yeah.
so that he can have that to go against whatever the thinking is? I don't never tell him. So he can have that to go against the bad cops that's out there. It's like, I don't want to put you in that position because I know how I feel when people come at me about preachers that be tripping. It's like, I know they tripping, but I don't want to hear your mouth right now. But because you're coming for everybody, you're not coming for just the one. But if you talk to him and say, Bone, can I talk to you about a preacher? Yeah, what's up? So when Creflo Dollar asked his congregation to help buy him a jet, was that a problem? You know what? That was a problem.
Yeah. And
Because then we're just talking. But if you come at me like, and then these preachers want jets to play, well, then go on with that. I don't want to have that conversation with you.
I love what you're saying. And that whole, all of that, what you just said, it just encapsulates everything that we all love about you so much. You're fair, you're brave, you're accountable, you're so many wonderful things. And you are, I mean, your sweet guy is so lucky to have you for a dad. He really, really is. You're teaching him so many incredible things. And I know.
Marlo, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second here.
You can probably hear me. I'm just going to say this to you as you're listening, and everybody that's listening, is that I know being, I was my son, his dad and I were divorced before I was married to David, and going through a divorce it's so hard. It's so hard for kids, and especially when you're very different, maybe in parenting styles or lifestyles or whatever it is. But all that I know is the kids know. They know that they are loved. And I know that your sweet guy knows how loved he is. And he's going to see more of that the older he gets, because he's going to see the man that you are and how lucky he is that he has you as a dad, a mentor, and a role model. That's awesome.
Thank you, Marlo. You ain't going to get no tears, though.
Okay, come on, Bone. I'm giving you everything. No, I'm just kidding. So with all of that, where I was, I want to give you a chance to share anything that you want to share at the end here. But I would love to know then your faith. Your faith obviously plays a role in your career, your life as a friend, and your life as a dad. Would you speak to that?
So my relationship with Jesus, one of the best things my mom did, I think what parents do that messes up a lot of kids is they try to give their kids their faith, and then the kids grow up and they don't realize that they don't have faith. They only got what their parents gave them. And then when they need faith, they don't know how to get it. And so one of the things my mom did that was great, she never gave me her faith. She was like, you got to get your own. Like whatever it is you going through, that's what you got to, you got to count on God for that. I'm here for whatever I'm here for, but you got to count on God. And I remember, and I didn't even realize that she taught me that. I was doing a Christ in youth summer camp, and a 19-year-old girl came up. She said, can you help me? My 12-year-old brother, he was doing good with God, but now he only cares about video games, and I can't talk to him about God. And I told her, I said, you got to figure out who God is to him. And she was like, what? I'm like, you trying to give him your God. Like you trying to figure out what college you're going to go through, what you're going to major in, who going to be your friend. He don't care about it. He 12. He trying to figure out how to get an extra video game. That's who God is to him. He want God to tell him how to get an extra man, how to get the code. So you got to figure that out and talk to him about that. And so for me and my faith, it's always been who I need God to be to me. Me and my son, he's 11. We've lived in the same state maybe a year. The other 10 years, he's always been in a different state. So it's always been a minimum of a 4-hour drive to get to him.
Right.
And twice a month, sometimes twice a week. And I never knew if I was going to be able to do this and go see him twice a month with a 4-hour one-way drive, which is an 8-hour round trip. And I just was like, I'm just going to do it until I can't anymore. And God, it's going to be about you. And so we used to sing this song in the choir called One Step. And it was called, and the lyric was, all I have to do is take one step and he'll do the rest. And so I would always like, God, I'm going to do my best, but you have to attach yourself to me in order for this to happen. Because I don't know how I'm going to do this for 11 years.
Oh, yeah.
And he 11. And now the drive is 6 hours one way. And if I always joke about it, he's like, man, how you do it? I'm like, I don't think about it. Because if I think about it, then I'm going to go jump off a cliff somewhere.
Right, yeah.
So I don't think about it. Just do it.
Literally, you're talking about the amount of time that it takes maybe to get to him. But with all that, that's what I was just saying a minute ago. You're getting to him in ways that you may not even yet imagine. But when you see who he is, I know as a grown man, you're getting to him. You're piercing his heart with all those awesome examples that you are, like I was just saying a minute ago. Kudos to you, Bone. You're a good dad. You're a good friend. You're good in your profession. You're loaded with goodness. Before we go, is there anything else that you'd love to share about comedy or parenting or faith, anything?
Any of the young comics that's listening, I like talking to young comics, trying to give you some things so you don't have to go through some of the stuff that me and some of my peers have went through. Not everybody really knows how to convey what we know to a younger comic without it being dogmatic, without it being condescending. Right. And so when I talk to y'all about taking my class, the biggest point is so you can be the best version of you. So if you're a young comic, you're trying to find your way, take my class. Come sign up. Go to bonehampton.com so I can help you be the best version of you and not make another clone out of here of what we already got, because we don't need any more of me. I got a clone, my son. He looked just like me, and he ain't going to even be a clone of me.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say to the young comics. When it comes to faith, I would say, the beautiful thing about God is that he's always saying, just come to me. It's like, I got you. Just come to me. You know, if you find you can't get answers from whatever preacher you trust the most or the most spiritual person you know, it is so okay to put your head on that pillow at night and say, God, I don't understand what you want me to do. You will be so pleasantly surprised when God say, oh, that's what I wanted you to do. That's what I needed. God is a God of, he don't really try to beat down your door, but man, when you give him permission, he coming in and he'll give you the things. A lot of times I think people don't realize they don't give him permission. They think they give him permission, but they hold on to something that God said, I need you to remove that though.
Yes.
If you don't remove that, I can't get in. It's like, come on in, but you still got a chair up under the doorknob. And God, like, don't get me wrong. I split the Red Sea. I can bust this door wide open, but that ain't what I do. And so I would say that to anybody trying to get some answers from God, just let them know, God, I need some answers. Whatever you need me to remove, God. It's like the rich dude say, God, I done did everything. He told Jesus, I did everything. Jesus like, give away all your money. He was like, wait, hold on. I got to go think about that.
Okay, anything else? But you got you're like, he's like, you have anything else you want to say? Because I'm not doing that. Yeah, you're right. That just, oh my gosh, that just spoke so much truth in my heart. That was my morning this morning. That was that all that you just said was my literal morning before I put my feet on the floor. I'm like, God, please, just asking. And then also looking at what we need to remove, what the maybe the snarliness with stuff that's in there. We can, we gotta be able to be willing to let go of whatever it is that might be in our way of it's like a callus on our soul. You know, we got to be able to exfoliate that. So God's goodness and, you know, all that he has for us.
Yeah.
And yes. Hey, I have to say, okay, you guys, when Bone's talking about how he wants to help you be the best version of you, even, you know, in all kinds of ways, but as a comedian, I can tell you firsthand, he means what he is talking about. I would have said that before, but we just had a chance to spend time, a group of us, a small group in Tennessee. And remember, I loved it. It was such a great trip for so many reasons. But one of them is when we got to sit, there were several, like four or five of us that got to sit. We sat for like 6 hours, I think, just talking comedy, just hashing it out and talking to each other. And that is one of the greatest things, to have your tribe, especially in an arena like comedy. But what I wanted to say about you, Bone, June Colson, I don't know if she's still on here. I'm gonna put this up. She said Bone is a blessing to more people than he could ever imagine. And I want to talk about June right now. With regard to you, I watched you pour life and truth into her soul as a comedian. Sat there, watched you. You were, you know, that you guys, if you're a comedian, you're thinking of working with Bone. Like I said, I used to be super intimidated. Like, I don't want Bone to even know, because I used to think that, you know, you had this way of doing it. If it wasn't, I didn't know. I just, before I knew you, you are so, you're so truthful, honest, and yet, and yes, period, no but. You want people to be the best version of who they are called to be, not who you want them to be, who they are called to be. I watched you pour truth into June, and then she went on, I think a week or two later, and won the Clean Comedy Challenge. And she's so talented. Anyway, it was her talent, but I just have a feeling that what you that truth that you put in her heart, the extra bit of truth that you poured into her, I got to witness it firsthand and then see the result. So you are something. And you know what you're talking about. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. If anybody's working with you, they absolutely should.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the last thing about being a single parent. I would tell, when you're a single parent and you frustrated with the other parent, you need to have somebody else that you can call and vent out your frustration. Don't let the child see the frustration. And sometimes it ain't a conversation you're gonna have with the other parent. It's just not gonna work itself out, that conversation.
Right.
And the thing you got to remember is that other parent don't think like you.
Right.
If they thought like you, y'all probably still be together.
Right.
So being frustrated about that parent don't think like you, and like, I just can't get it. No, they don't think like you. That is a thing. Like, that's there. So have somebody else that you call and get the frustration out with, because y'all probably not going to work out whatever that argument is that y'all dealing with. Yeah,
it's so true. You and I were talking about this on the phone the other day, that every parent, whether we agree or disagree, I know I've walked the road and it took me a long time to learn, and to just talk to my son about the fact that we all have a story. And if we're maybe not getting along or whatever it is, to just always go back. It's hard to in the moment, but when we're older and wiser and we look back and we say, everybody has a story. And when we're different, what's their story? And it gives us a chance to shine that light on our kids. And Bone, I just love you so much. You're just doing so many amazing things. I am honored that you got up so early in the morning.
Only for Marlo.
Yay, I'm so thankful, truly. And I know everybody that's watching and everybody that's watching in the replay is going to be so thankful. They're just going to see that this is such a blessed time together. So thank you, Bone Hampton. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Marlo. Thank you for having me finally in the cubby hole.
I gotta say that you and I have been joking forever. You've been teasing me like, oh, you can't get it. You can't get booked at the cubby hole because I only do one show a month, and you're not here during those times. But you are going to be here.
I'm not big enough. I get it. I'm not big enough. I'm not Leland Clausen.
You are
wrong. It.
Wrong. And you, my friend, I know if you will give me the honor, you will be on this stage blessing some hearts when we're through all of this. you're going to be here. I hope so. I pray, and I'll be asking.
You know, I've been spending the whole time looking at the pictures on the wall. I'm like, how do I get a picture on the wall? How do I do that?
You know what? I will be honest with you. I did not have one. I did not have your headshot until we did this show, and I said, "Oh, Costco, here I come. I'm going to find a spot. You're going on the wall, and you're going to hopefully sign it in person when you're here at the Cubby Hole."
Because I'm looking, I'm like, whose spot I'm going to take?
Hey.
Whose spot?
I have to tell you something, sir, that before there was one picture on the wall, I don't know what I did with it. Remember I called you and I was at the resale shop and I found a canvas that said, and you guys don't know this, but you're going to know this now. I don't even remember the story of how it happened, but Bo's kind of like signature line or the tag or whatever it is what it is, right, Bo? And
yes, it is.
Sale shop. I found it. I sent you a picture and I said, that's going on my green grid here in the Cubby Hole before I had a picture of anybody. I was representing Bone Hampton.
Next time we got to talk about you and your random text.
Yeah.
Marlo is the greatest random texter in the world.
Isn't texting just random? You know, I don't think that we just like say, hey, and then I tease you back that I'm not going to send you a note and go, Bone, I'm about to send you a text. I'm going to be asking you A, B, and C. I'm just like, hey, Bone, look what I found at the resale shop. I haven't talked to you in 3 months. But look at it. I'm like, yeah, that's texting. That's how we all right, I got to give my face a rest. My heart's been
Marlo,
my face is hurting.
It's been a blast. Thank you. You're such a good interviewer. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Lots of love to you, Bone. And you hang on. I'm going to just take you out. I'm going to talk to you backstage. So just hold on one second. But thank you so much for your time. You were a blessing. Bye, Bone. Bye. Okay, everybody. Isn't he awesome? Yeah, so visit him. If you're doing comedy, if you're a young comic, definitely look him up because he knows what he is talking about. And he is not scary to work with. I'm telling you, I used to think that. I was so intimidated, but he is a warm soul, a man of God. As you can see, he has so much wisdom, and he is going to put you first. So, okay. Thank you so much for joining me. I cannot wait for next week already. And until then, I hope you all have a beautiful week. And thank you for spending time with us today. Bye, everybody.